Today, students, we have a guest. I want to introduce her to you. It's Miss Lillian Hunter, an old friend of mine, a very experienced translator, I must say. And by the way, she has been living for many years, for quite a century in London. That's why she knows, I suppose, a lot about Old English and modern English, including, at least a lot of quite interesting and catching variants of English, of today's English. And I suppose she's ready to give you a lot of recommendations for you as translators. You're welcome. Please, Lillian, you're welcome.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Moment, please. Sorry to interrupt you. Please, students, if you have any question, please, you're welcome afterwards, maybe. You have a chance to ask. Please. We are listening to you. Start. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hi, everybody. My name is Lillian Hunter. I live in London for quite a few years now, and I work at the moment as a freelance translator. So I just wanted to talk to you what freelance translation is all about, some of my experience, so on and so forth. So here's my presentation. Does everybody see it on their screens?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. So freelance translation as it is. Well, it's difficult to explain all the nuances of being a translator, but of course you already had a taste of it. So a translator is a language professional in both languages, in Russian, Ukrainian, English, German, whatever are your languages. You are a language professional in all of them. You are a competent writer. It means that a translator is not just a person who slavishly translates a text, but you are a good writer yourself. That means your text flows. Your text is easy to read. It conveys to the reader the exact meaning of the text that you translated. You are also a diplomat. My God, this is really something very, very important because, of course, the clients mean a lot to us. They provide us with our bread and butter, and you mustn't tread on any toes. Not because you're not going to be paid for it or anything, but after all, you are working for them. You're providing them with services, so you have to be as diplomatic as possible. And of course, here's the nuance of cultural differences in languages. Some words are not to be used in one of the languages, and you have to be as neutral as possible, not to hurt anyone's feelings, if you want. And you are also an educated amateur. That means you know a lot of things about everything. That is, if you're writing something, you invariably you research this subject and you get to know about things. For example, I've been translating medical texts. You have to look into it and find out what is that you're translating about. I translated about beekeeping. I translated legal texts and so on and so forth. So you become, you acquire knowledge, if you wish. You become an educated amateur because, of course, you can't get deeply into all the subjects that you translated in your life. Well, here there are some bullet points, as you can see, and they explain what to look at when you start translating a text. Well, first of all, seize the intended meaning of the source language. That is, you have to get into the psychology of the person who writes the text and understand what it is all about. Not just something you think what it is, but the meaning that the person wanted to convey. So from this list of mine, probably you need to add here a psychologist as well. You have to gauge the word choice for the target language. That's more like a flavor of your speech, if you wish. You can't use words from just colloquial speech if you are translating a scientific text, for example, if you wish an example. Match the formatting. That's one of the things that we have to do. Formatting can be fiendishly difficult. Yesterday I translated several diplomas of education for an Indian person who actually lived in Emirates. So there were several stamps and seals and things, about 12 of them or so, and they had to be more or less in the same position as they were in the real thing. Later on, if we have any time, I'm going to show it to you. Why is it done? Because you have to match the formatting. If, say, text is underlined or bold or italic or whatever in the source language, it has to be so in the target language, because very often the client will have both the documents together. And they need to understand what's what particular word stands in the source language for the target language, if you wish. Right, know or research the best terminology for the subject matter. Yeah, that's one of the things I've been talking to you about. This actually crops up later in my presentation, so I will talk about it a little bit later. Assess cultural differences in case it impacts phrasing of or grammar. Yes, that again, a very important thing, and again it crops up a little bit later. Convert proper names into a new alphabet if applicable. That's an interesting subject too, because as you know, we have to translate either from Latin alphabet into Cyrillic or the other way around, and it's always very difficult. Always there are several ways how to do it. Again, this is something that I illustrated a little bit later in my presentation. And ensure overall clarity and accuracy of finished translation. In the end, what I do, I just print out my translation and read it to myself, sort of half loud. This way you can see how it feels, how it reads, if you can understand it yourself. So that, again, a competent writer, you have to be a competent writer to do it. Okay, let's carry on. Translators Deadlines. That's something, together with formatting and other things, that is something that any translator will be very familiar with. You know the word deadline in whenever you have an assignment, a translation job, you are supposed to do it by certain time. Very often, these are very tight deadlines, and sometimes they're very, very difficult to achieve. I prefer to have deadlines by next morning, not the same day, but next morning, just because, you know, sometimes it's so difficult to achieve a translated text in 2 or 3 hours. So you have to work late at night. But sometimes your client will just say, no, sorry, I have to do it. I have to have it right now, and so on. Well, first of all, always ask the client to send you the source files so that you can have a look. You look and you set yourself a realistic goal. Can I do it or can I not do it? Well, that's again, even somebody as experienced as I am, sometimes I look at the text, I think, oh, well, I can do it, you know, in those 2 or 3 hours or 5 hours or whatever. But very often you get to a point where you have a term which you just don't know what it is. So that's one of the difficulties in our job. Well, as I say, I'll go back to the presentation. Set a realistic goal. Just ask yourself, can I do it or can I not? If you can't do it by the deadline, and if the deadline is very tight and can't be moved at all, because, for example, there's a court hearing or something like that, and you have to deliver it by a specific time, just say, no, I can't do it. Number 2, find out the exact specifications of your job. Just ask the client what they want, because sometimes there's a huge amount of other text on the same page. But very often it doesn't have to be translated. For example, there can be, in legal documents, there can be a huge letterhead. That means the address of the company is given, the names of all their lawyers and so on, associates of the company. And you don't need to translate it. And it all covers about half a page. And all they need you to do is to fill in the text itself, whether it's a court order or decision or judgment or ruling or whatever it is, I don't know. If you have a huge text and a rather tight deadline for over several days, it's worthwhile cutting the project into smaller pieces and setting your own intermediary deadlines. For example, you tell yourself, okay, it's 60 pages. I have to do 10 pages a day. And whether you can do it or not, you have to stick to these 10 pages a day, and even sometimes more, to give you more time for proofreading at the end. Next, do apologize. You have to concentrate. You have to get rid of distractions, and you have to work extra time, as I said. Get rid of distractions. I sometimes have to switch off my telephone, not to look at emails, so on and so forth. In this respect, modern telephones, mobile telephones are very good, because you can say busy there. That's it. So your friends know that you're still alive and you're still talking to them, but you're just busy. You have a translation. Work extra time, as I say, I already mentioned it before. I sometimes work very late into the night and have to get up again very early and start again. But sometimes if you get stuck, you ask. If you feel that you can't do the translation by a very tight deadline, you have to alert your customer as early as possible. phone them, tell them that's what's happening. In this case, they may enlist somebody else's help and give them, say, last 10 or 20 pages. Ask all your friends for help. You know, you never know. Somebody may have some knowledge about the subject. So ask and research. Oh, my telephone keeps ringing. Never mind. Sorry. All right. Finding your feet. How do you actually start? Well, first of all, you have to get your qualification, translations qualifications. This is very important. This is what you are doing now, acquiring your qualifications. Sorry. Then you need a lot of translation experience. Of course, experience now is provided by your coursework and so on, but if you have any clients now, if you can do any projects, undertake any projects, do it. The more you work, the more you translate, the better it is for you. It's a way of life. Translation is a way of life. Your mind is constantly working. Your mind is constantly acquiring new things. Professional development, that's again something very important. I am a member of the body of translators, which is Chartered Institute of Linguists of Great Britain. And they are constantly offering all sorts of courses, webinars, meetings. That's all very important for professional development. The other thing which is important is, the other thing that forms a part of professional development is actually your everyday life. You read books. I myself read extensively in Russian as well as in English, and I try to read books in translations as well as original books, just to compare things. For example, I don't know if you know of Dick Francis. He was a jockey. He worked for Queen Mother, and he actually wrote detective novels. He died in 2010, so he was very active in the last century. You may not know about him, although I think he's getting famous again. They're starting to reprint some of his novels. So I was reading him in original, and then just for this, you know, just for comparison, I read one of the books in Russian. And that was a very interesting thing. I gleaned several terms myself, and it did help my professional development. Right, professional membership networking. It's very important that you join some sort of group of people who are doing the same as you do. At the moment, you are students, so you are among the people who are the same as you. But when you go out into independent life, it's slightly different. You're more or less on your own. Of course, you will have a few friends and so on, but it is important to be able to converse with people who are on the same wavelength as you, who do the same sort of thing, who are interested in the same sort of thing, sharing problems, sharing success, sharing knowledge. It's very important. I am going to give you some example of this networking a little bit later. Advertising. I already mentioned that I'm a member of Institute of Linguists, and they do my advertising for me. That is, I put my rates and my terms on their website, and people do contact me with jobs. Also, there's LinkedIn, of course. Not a big fan of it, but this is something. Well, you will know what exact facilities are there for you to advertise in Ukraine, because of course I wouldn't know that. Contacting relevant agencies with your CVs, etc., etc. Don't be shy. Don't think that, oh well, they won't want me. They have enough people and so on. Just now and then go on a spree and send your CV to anyone who could be in need of some translations. That's like police, for example, courts, like I don't know, social services. Right, knowing your rights and duties. Again, this is something that your professional body can help you with, because very often, of course, there are dishonest people who wouldn't pay you for your work, who will try and detract from what you do. So you have to know your rights and duties. That's another thing. You have to know you have to be aware of your duties as well. That is, for example, in Great Britain, it's very important now that you protect your clients' data, personal data protection. We have this regulation on data protection, and when you translate things, you translate everything: dates of birth, personal information of all sorts. Very, very important that you protect it and that you know exactly what you have to do under this law, under this data protection law. So sometimes it's very important, we come to the next one, sometimes it's very important for you as a freelance translator to have professional indemnity insurance. That is, insure yourself in case you make a mistake and in case your client wants to sue you for a mistake which costs them a lot of money. Don't know how it is in Ukraine, but here in Great Britain, we have to have professional indemnity insurance. I pay about £200 a year for this, and I am sort of protected if somebody wants to take me to court if I do something absolutely horrible. There's also an international standard that covers translation, work of a translation services. Standard ISO 17100 in 2015. I think it was actually updated in 2018. Not quite sure. It's an interesting standard. It covers a lot of things, how translations have to be done, that it's not just a translation, but there's also a proofreader who will read the translation after you, and there will be an editor who will edit your work and proofreader's work. How translators' notes can be done in the translation, and so on and so forth. It's a whole big standard, so it covers a lot of aspects. Right, okay, we're coming to the next. Setting up your home office. This is actually where I'm sitting now, full of morning sun. I just wanted to show you how I organized my working place. As you can see, I've got a laptop here, and the laptop is connected to a big screen. Big screen is very, very important because you are sitting long hours, your eyes glued to the screen, so the bigger the screen is, the better for you. You can do it this way. Good light natural light, as you can see, as well as table lamp. Also, I went wire-free. As you can see, my mouse and my keyboard are wireless. It's much better this way for me. Don't know how you like it, but I just don't like all those, wires on my desk. I also have a shredder. Shredder is very, very important because, as I said, data protection. You get all sorts of things from your clients, and I like to have a printed copy of their original in front of me when I work. Although, of course, it is all on screen and so on, but it's just more convenient for me, if you wish. I also have a small printer, as you can see, and very important is a good chair. I used to have a different chair, and I had to buy this because the backache started. So you sit long hours, so you have to sit comfortably. And I really did feel the difference when I changed my chair last year. Right, well, here it is. That's for you if I want to recap everything that we just went through. So PC, laptop, big screen, printer, shredder. Oh yes, external drives backup. Very important because there are a number of all sorts of viruses around. And if you don't back up your work, you may just lose it. There are, of course, all sorts of cloud storage and so on, but I still prefer to have my old memory stick. I just put all my files that I want to back up on it and keep it separately because if your laptop is gone, then at least you can have all your latest work there on the memory stick. Internet connection, broadband, sorry, this is something that you can't be without nowadays. Again, I'll come to it a little bit later. And as I said, comfortable desk and chair. Okay, let's get on. Software. Well, because computers, hardware is useless without software, you have to have software. Well, for me, it's Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. But of course, some people prefer Mac. One of my friends has got Mac. I don't know. For me, Microsoft Office is better just because a lot of people use it. It's more widely used than Mac. And you have to have all these programs because some translations are in Word, some in Excel, and PowerPoint you need as well because some translations come with PowerPoint. Language options and spell checker. Can you see my screen? Can you see what I'm doing now?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to show you language preferences. I've got all these languages installed here, and I have spell checkers for all of them. Although I must say, not extremely happy with the spell checker in Russian and Ukrainian, well, in English, they just don't pick up certain things, so you have to proofread anyway. Adobe Acrobat or similar. Very important too. Some companies prefer to send you stuff in Adobe Acrobat. I mean PDF files, PDF format files, and you have to translate them. So what do? You run OCR on them, that is text recognition, and then you can copy and paste. It just a lot less time you waste on preparing your source text than if you don't have it. Also, some companies ask you to give them the translated files in PDF format, not in Word, just because it's better for them, it's easier for them. Antivirus, again, I can't tell you how important this is. You have to have a good antivirus installed because your computer will carry a lot of data, which is extremely useful for all sorts of undesirable elements over there. Right, continue. Electronic dictionaries, that's another thing that I have and I use, and probably you too as well. Electronic dictionaries. I use ABBY Lingua. That's my preferred one. I'm sure there are other ones, but as I have this one installed, I am just using it just to show you what it is. I still have got some paper dictionaries too, and sometimes sort of double check. But although ABBY Lingua does have some mistakes, in the end it's okay. It is helpful. Right, CAT tools. That's computerized automatic translation tools. Very important nowadays to have it because some companies just do work in these on this software. I have MemoQ. I've just started it about a month ago or so. This is one of the texts that I translated using this tool. What you have to do first, you have to do like a to prepare your project, to install your term base, your translation things, and as you can see on the left, there's a window which shows you the original, the source text, and on the right it's the text that you translated. You just type it, but then there are it's not artificial intelligence, this one, no, it's not, but it does help you to fill in some things that like dear, you see, dear, if you once typed in Ukrainian Шановний, Шановна, that's how it is going to translate for you, or we would welcome you, blah blah. If in any of the future texts you will have this, it will translate, if this is the same pair of languages, of course, it will translate it for you automatically. Yeah. If you are interested in this MemoQ, I can later on send you some links to this. Well, you can Google it actually, Google MemoQ, and on YouTube you can see quite a lot of films which will tell you how to use them and so on and so forth. So that's something you have to think about. Right, internet resources. Oh, this is very, very important. I started working as a translator many years ago, and I can't tell you how lovely it is now that you can just go on the internet sitting at your own desk in your own home, and you can find such a wealth of information, various information. What I've done here, I was on a legal case, which was connected with Kazakhstan law, and an English lawyer did a research, and as you can see, he used some of the Kazakhstan documents. I had to translate all this document. It was a very lengthy document, I must tell you, into Russian for the use of the client. So I just went online and I found all the Russian, well, it's not the Russian translations, it's actually, it's the original text of all these things. So I didn't have to translate this. I just, did it all by looking it over on the internet. And that's what I've done. I typed in Convention 1980 and so on and so forth into Google, and I got all those documents. And later in the text, there were a whole load of extracts from these documents, which I didn't have to translate again, just because they were there, all there on Kazakhstani websites, all in Russian, all very nice, all very neat. So that's how I've done it. Internet resources. Yes, that's what I've been telling you. Names can be extremely difficult. Like this name, this is an Irish name. And sometimes when you translate from English into Russian, it's very important to you to know whether this person is female or male. So this name, all you need to do is just type in this name itself, type that it is a name, and it's not anything else, it's a name, and you want to know its pronunciation. As you can see, this is given here in transcription, in special phonetic signs. It's Siobhan, Irish. Sometimes you will see even a symbol which, if you click on it, will just tell you, pronounce the name for you. That's very useful too. At least you can hear what it is pronounced, how to pronounce this name. And it's very, very important to double check, even if you think that you know how to pronounce this name. Because, of course, in Russian and Ukrainian, what we tend to do is we tend to just transliterate. That is, we don't think, we just do it from Latin alphabet into Cyrillic alphabet without thinking that I, for example, can be pronounced as I. We will just write as E, which is a mistake. So always check names. Right, internet. That's another thing. That's one of the networking things that I was telling you about. That's a useful tool, but you have to take this with a great pinch of salt. Later on, I will show you exactly why. But in the meantime, just if you want to, maybe you know it already, if you want to make a note of that, that's your friend for a translation. What you do is you enter or paste your text here in English or in Russian. It doesn't have Ukrainian, unfortunately. With Ukrainian, it's quite difficult to find something. It's the whole phrase. It's not just one term. In fact, it is better. It works better if you type in a whole phrase. But then you have to use your brain. You have to look at it and think, oh no, I can't use this, or I have to change a term into something else. Because of course, again, it's not artificial intelligence. It's just statistic. It gives you statistical probabilities more like anything else. And also you can network in it. If you register here, you can probably meet other people who work using this reverse context. So this is translators networking for you. That's another thing, which is this is more academic, if you wish. And again, if you can register here. it's Kudos Prose company. A lot of people who are members of this company will help you by answering your questions about terms. Some of the legal terms can be very difficult and you just don't know what it is all about. Later on, I'll show you my use of this resource. Oh yes, as you can see here, recent questions, active questions, or term search. There are recent questions. People ask something, and all this can be found if you fill in your term. You have to fill in your source and target language field, even whether it's because terms, of course, mean different things when it is in for education, for example, or for legal or general or whatever. So all this have to be filled in. Okay, let's go. Pros and cons of freelancing. Well, at the moment, I'm just doing freelance translations just because as a result of COVID-19, my company where I worked before closed, and I found myself without any work. So I was sort of forced into it, if you wish. Well, what are the pros? You're working from home. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to get up in the middle of the night. There's no commuting. Before, for me, it was bus or train and underground. So it's a good hour and a good hour back. You are, of course, your own employer, no problems with boss or colleagues. Major decisions are up to you. You can say, yes, I do want to take this translation, or no, I don't want to take this translation. It's all up to you. But on the other hand, it's sedentary lifestyle. It's huge strain on your eyes, on your back, on your muscles. It's unsociable and sometimes very long hours. People are having a bank holiday weekend and you are sitting there cursing horribly and typing at your translation. You know, sometimes it gets to you. You cannot plan ahead. Translations may come any time. Literally any time, day or night. Sometimes people would call me at 11 o'clock in the evening. Sometimes it's 7 o'clock in the morning, and you just don't know. And especially if you go on holiday and a very nice translation comes, and you know that you would like to take it, but you can't. And another thing is cash flow problems. That means that people are on to you to do translation now, or even yesterday, or even day before yesterday. But when it comes to paying, it's a bit different. At the moment, I'm chasing one invoice which should have been paid in September last year. And they still haven't paid, and I've been toing and froing with my emails, asking them to please pay, and they are promising, and then there's some questions about my bank account where they can't transfer. The data was absolutely correct, and so on and so forth. So, you know, it's a very, very real problem for you, cash flow. Tales of a translator. Am I talking too much? No, it's 10:24, so it's another 10-15 minutes. Well, it's about something that I did not long ago. I was approached by one of the agencies, and they said that they had a YouTube film. Somebody in Ukraine, an official, a Ukrainian official, was talking to somebody else, to the people who were under him, And I had to proofread somebody else's translation. I had to listen to this YouTube recording, and I had to. I had this other translator's paper in front of me, and I had to say whether it was right or wrong to proofread. So the original said something like «Ты должен выписать по беспределу любую бумагу». And translated as «You have to write out any lawless paper». I didn't like it. I didn't think it was correct, so I objected against this phrase. Well, if you do the linguistic analysis of the original phrase, first of all, you can see its subject predicate. Sorry, I'll probably switch into Russian here. Подлежащее сказуемое обстоятельство дополнения. That is, you have to do something in some way towards something else, so to say. So, as you can see in the original, it's in what way you have to do it. And in the translation, it was an adjective rather than that. Although it is, of course, permissible because the languages are not the same, and you very often have to change their construction of the sentence altogether. I didn't feel it was right here. Because I left Ukraine so many years ago, I didn't know what that по беспределу was. So I started my research into the meaning and usage of this term. All I knew was беспредел is a noun. As you can see, these are all the possible versions of that. Then I started to research how this actually по беспределу, and I found that there were sort of like antonyms по беспределу, and the antonyms were по понятиям, по закону. So по закону, according to the law. And then по беспределу is against the law. Lawless, not quite lawless. How do you say that? God knows. Again, I found some usage on the internet. These are actions that are outside any laws again. Another thing I found that this phrase is actually a criminal jargon in a way, you know, although it was acquired into everybody else's everyday sort of speech in sort of late 80s, 1980s. So as I understood it, по беспределу means without any rules, without looking at any rules, in a haphazard fashion, something like that. So, because there was a context in that recording, later on it was told that there is a team of lawyers that can help with sort of points of law as to this draft paper. My final version, as you can see, выписать. It's not just write out. I translated it as draft. And then любую бумагу, any paper. But по беспределу I translated it without considering points of law. That is, just don't worry about the legal aspects, if you wish, of this paper. Just draft anything, and then the team of lawyers will come back and put in all the points, finer points of law. That was my solution to this. Well, in the end, the client agreed to it. There was a bit of hoo-ha about it, but in the end, they agreed that I was actually right. Okay, another thing. I'm doing a lot of legal stuff, family law and property law. So family law is extremely important now because there's a lot of movement between all sorts of countries. And of course, where children are involved, like if parents want to divorce and one parent lives in one country and one in another, or they want to go back to their old country or whatever, they want to take children with them, or they want to take children to a new country. So there's a lot of kidnapping, a lot of children who are taken by their parents from one country to another, and of course the other parent is not at all happy about it. It's a very, very grave problem at the moment. So at the end of the court judgment, there shall be liberty to apply as to implementation. And I must say I didn't understand quite the meaning of this phrase. Well, shall, in legal documents, in court orders, the judge rules, the judge judges, the judge gives his order, if you wish, what must be done. And in English, instead of must, they use shall. There shall be liberty. So I order that this what is going to happen. That's it. I mentioned reverser before, and I told you that translations by reverser are best done if you fill in the whole phrase into it, and also that you have to take it with a pinch of salt, because it's just an automatic translation based on statistical probabilities. So the translation was: должна быть обеспечена свобода применения в отношении осуществления. Do you understand anything? I don't. So what I've done, I looked via Google, I looked at a legal website. I just typed in liberty to apply as to implementation. And that's what it means. Both parties, стороны, in Russian, стороны в судебном процессе. The applicant, истец и ответчик, the applicant and the respondent, are allowed to ask the court or the arbitrator to further adjudicate, that is, to pass judgment on the mechanics of implementation of this order on short notice. What it meant, it was an order for mother and two children who escaped from one country into Great Britain to go back to that country. So in the end, the judge says that I'm passing the order for your return now, but because of COVID and because of other things, other considerations, mother and children, they are people, they have their own, there are nuances there and so on and so forth. So I am passing this order now. I'm giving you order to go back to that country, but you must, when certain other things happen, you must come back to me, or rather it's the father who has to come back to him, because he was interested in return of his wife and children back to his own country from the UK. You must come back to me and ask me, tell me, please give me exact timings when this mother and children have to go back to that country, and it can be done on short notice. So my translation was: стороны имеют право обратиться к суду за решением об осуществлении этого судебного постановления. You see, it's nothing like in the long run as it says in the text, but at least the persons who are vitally interested in this, they will understand what it means. Right, and my last slide, how are we doing for time? We're okay. That's another one. This is a translation from Russian into English, as you can say, and again, it's law, it's property law. It says here, кроме того, доводы ответчика противоречат установленным при рассмотрении дела обстоятельствам и выводам судов по делу номер такое-то, имеющим преюдициальное значение при рассмотрении настоящего дела. Well, what does it say? It says that there was another case before, and this new case has to be based on that old one, because that old one has преюдициальное значение. My God, what is that? Well, as I found out, again by research online, преюдициальный от преюдиция, относящийся к предыдущему судебному решению. Преюдициальный. Обязательность для всех судов, рассматривающих дело, принять без проверки доказательств факты, ранее установленные, вступившим в законные силу судебным решением, в котором участвуют те же лица. That is, all the facts, all the case materials, they have already been looked into. You cannot start turn around and say, oh, that's probably is incorrect. The court decided that it was correct. So you have to just use those documents, those facts, those that evidence, and you can't do anything about it. Yes, but in Russia and in Great Britain, the laws are completely different. Well, not completely, but there are huge gaps between them. So how do I translate it if there's quite a different sort of thing in Great Britain? And for Great Britain, for Great British courts, that won't mean anything. They won't know what it is. First of all, if I want to just преюдициальное to sort of transcribe, to find similar words in English, I would of course say prejudicial. But prejudicial, I'm sorry, it has another meaning. It has this meaning, prejudice, prejudicial. Oh yes, and there's with prejudice, without prejudice. It's quite a different term, but it just sounds the same. And it also gives you the meaning of преюдициальный, имеющий преюдициальное значение. But in Great Britain, it has quite a different meaning. That is their you can do what you can't do in Russia, you can do in Great Britain in other case. As you can see, it's all explained here. So what I had to do, I had to use prejudicial here, but I spelled it different. You see, I put a hyphen here just to alert the reader that it's not the same as prejudicial, and I put it in inverted commas. And I also explained it, and this is how translators' notes have to look like according to that standard I mentioned to you before. They have to be in italic and in square brackets. So prejudicial, that is binding lower courts as to facts. That is, lower courts cannot go on, turn around and say, no, I don't believe these facts. You have to believe. They are binding. So the lower courts are bound. So that's my translation. That was my translation. Right. I think it's 10:40 and I've been talking for an hour. That's the end of my presentation, and thank you very much for listening. And do you have any questions?
So thank you very much. It was interesting, not only for students and for me as well, especially those examples. Thank you for summarizing.
Somebody asking something, but before I could click on it, it disappeared. Sorry.
Well, so students,
can you repeat your?
No questions at all.
No. There was a question. There was a question. I just couldn't.
So now question from
show everyone. Yeah.
So Lena Nazarenko, you're welcome. Yeah, was your question?
No, I think there was a boy asking something like.
The question is in the chat. If you can read it, or can I read it for you? There is a chat on the right.
Yeah.
Open.
Meeting details. I'm not quite sure how to do it. I do apologize. It's a bit of a new software for me.
I will read it. What is the most difficult topic of the text to translate?
That's difficult to say. Well, I told you deadline. If you're sure about your deadline, it's okay. Terms are very difficult. Especially legal terms, and sometimes it's not only legal but some other sort of specialized terms if you need. A lot of research is done into term usage and translation. Probably terms is the most difficult, and formatting can be absolutely dreadfully horrible.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Well, please, a few words about interpreting. I know you prefer written forms of translation, but so I suppose interpretation, it's also for you, English.
Yeah. Well,
Why? I know why. It's just for students only.
Okay, I understand. I did do some interpreting in the beginning of my career, but it's I don't know. It's not for me. I didn't get that much work for it. If you try to earn your life, your living, then you just go with whatever is offered to you, whatever you can get. So that's my decision to go into. How long does it take you to translate? To translate what? Sorry, there was a question. How long does it take you to translate? I think I know what you mean. How many pages, how many words a day can I do? Well, that's the question that your clients ask you. How many things do you how many words can you translate a day? My answer normally is about 5,000 words a day. But then it depends what sort of text. Sometimes you can do 20 pages, 7,000 words a day. If it is an easy translation, like it was a statement from the claimant in the court, And sometimes you can do 2,000 words a day and no more. So it depends very much on whether you know the subject, whether you've done this before, and whether you are using MemoQ, any sort of translation software for this. Translation software allows you to do more, especially if these are all the standard phrases. Right, I saw there were several other questions, but I didn't get them. They sort of come and go. Please.
The question from Karina Vedmedera. So, which are 3 main pieces of advice you can give for future translators?
Which piece of advice can I give to
future translators?
Future translators. Well, I think my whole presentation was like an advice to future translators. I think that I can't say anything else. Just you can use my presentation. You can sort of give it to students if they wish to look through it again. I'll be very happy for you to do it.
Thank you. So that was the next question from Evgeny Snishko. Is translation your main income?
At the moment it is. And on paper it looks good. It looks more or less the same money as I was doing in my office job before. But as I said, the problem is cash flow. And the other thing, of course, you can't, you just don't know when it's going to hit you. When you have an offer for a translation, you jump at it. And if you may be going for a walk, or you may be sort of, going shopping or whatever, you have to curtail your walk or whatever and go back home and sit down and translate. So you just don't know what is it going to be. Yes, at the moment it is my main income, but I'm applying for office jobs as well, because I don't think that freelance translation is quite for me, Okay, anything else?
So we see you are very tired of this lecture and of our questions. Thank you. See you later, I suppose. Maybe in a month, why not? Some more recommendations.
Okay.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, so students.
Well,
let's see. Thank you, Mrs.
My only advice to the translators is good luck with it. Good luck with it, and just get on and do what you have to do, and get a lot of experience, a lot of research, a lot of hard work. But if you do it, it's all be yours.
So really, it depends only on your desire. Well, and it's a very hard job, I must say.
It is, yes.
Really research.
Yeah, but I mean, then what is easy? Life is hard work.
Yeah, life is hard work. Well, thank you. Goodbye, and be healthy. Well, see you later.
Okay.
Now, students, you are free. If you have no questions, you can be free. Bye. Thank you. Everybody.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you very much.